I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. Things started out pretty good, kind of picture perfect, honestly. We got engaged after about 2 years, and everything seemed solid. We had our ups and downs, mostly typical stuff, but nothing major. Then, about a year ago, she started acting a little differently. I noticed she was more distant, flaky with plans, and seemed to avoid intimacy more often than not. I figured maybe she was stressed at work or just going through some phase, but I kept an eye on her. We were planning our wedding, and that was supposed to be the happiest time. But behind the scenes, things were anything but. Lisa was bitchy, snappy, and downright rude sometimes, especially when I tried to bring up the wedding or talk about the future. She'd brush me off, roll her eyes, and tell me I was overthinking. She told me she was just tired, stressed out, or not in the mood. I told myself maybe I was reading too much into it, maybe she was just overwhelmed. But I had this niggling feeling that something was off. Then came the premarital counseling. I thought it was a good idea, get everything out in the open, make sure we were on the same page, all that. The counselor was a nice guy, a little older, seemed professional. Lisa went along with it, but I noticed her fidgeting, her avoiding eye contact sometimes, and the way she behaved when the counselor asked about our sex life. She'd get defensive, brush it off, say I was being paranoid or overanalyzing again. It was frustrating, but I figured maybe she was just nervous or embarrassed. Anyway, the real trouble started when I decided to look through her email, just to double-check some documents. I wasn't snooping for fun. I was looking for our marriage certificate, which I needed for some official paperwork. I figured it'd be in her email somewhere. I didn't expect to find what I did. As I scrolled through her inbox, I saw a bunch of hotel receipts, hotel stays, dinners, all in the last few months. My stomach clenched. Then I saw the name of the officiant from our wedding in one of the receipts. I froze. My mind immediately went into overdrive. The officiant. Why would she be booking hotels with him? Was she cheating on me? Did she really think I wouldn't find out? I stared at the screen, trying to make sense of it. There was no way, but the receipts didn't lie. These weren't just innocent dinners. They were late-night hotel stays, sometimes with discreet notes attached, stuff that screamed secret rendezvous. I couldn't believe it. My wife, my partner, the woman I thought I knew, was sneaking around with the officiant from our wedding. The guy who was supposed to marry us, who was supposed to be there to witness our vows, was now sleeping with my wife. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. The betrayal hit me hard. I wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, but I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling my world collapse around me. I didn't even know how to process it at first. The anger was overwhelming, but so was the sadness. Just the thought that she'd been lying to me, cheating behind my back, while we were planning our future, made everything feel like a lie. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I also knew I needed to think, to plan. I wasn't just going to blow up her life without knowing what I was walking into. But this revelation, it changed everything. I spent the next couple of hours just staring at those receipts, trying to piece everything together. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. She'd been so bitchy, so dismissive when I brought up stuff about us, and now I knew why. She'd been sneaking around, probably thinking she could get away with it forever. The thought that she'd been lying to me during our premarital counseling, telling the counselor everything was fine, just made me sick. She'd been playing me for a fool, pretending to be the perfect wife when she was out there doing God knows what. I remember feeling this mix of emotions, anger boiling up, disbelief that I'd been so blind, and this crushing wave of betrayal. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to be smart about it. I needed to hear her explanation, but I also knew what I was going to say. No more pretending, no more bullshit. She was caught, and I was going to make sure she understood that I knew everything. Later that night, I decided to call her. I kept my voice steady but cold. "Lisa," I said, trying to keep my composure, "we need to talk." She answered, all cheerful, acting like everything was normal. She said she was home and asked if I wanted to come over. I told her I'd be there in 20 minutes, and I hung up. When I walked into the apartment, she was sitting on the couch, trying to look innocent. She had that bitchy smirk on her face like she thought she could just brush this off. I didn't say anything at first. I just sat down across from her, looked her straight in the eyes, and laid it out. I found the hotel receipts. I told her I knew about the hotel stays, the dinners, her secret meetings with the officiant. Her face instantly changed. The smirk vanished. Her eyes got defensive and she started with the typical bullshit. It's not what it looks like. You're overreacting. It's just sex, Mike. I shook my head. No, Lisa, it's not just sex. You've been cheating on me. With our officiant, I saw the receipts. How long has this been going on? She tried to deny it, but I didn't buy her lies. She's good at lying, I'll give her that, but I could see the guilt all over her face. She kept insisting she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was just lonely, that she was confused, and that it didn't mean anything. But I knew better. I knew once a cheater, always a cheater. And how convenient that she's suddenly confused right before our wedding. The worst part. She had this bitchy attitude like she didn't care, like I was some fool who didn't see the truth. You think I'm some slut now? She snapped. You're just jealous because I'm still young and hot and I want to have some fun. Maybe you're the one who's boring, Mike. That's when I realized she was just a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with anything. Her excuses, her lies, they all just made me angrier. I felt like I was losing my mind, trying to hold back the rage and sadness at the same time. I told her I wanted her out. I couldn't be with someone who betrayed me like that, someone who lied during the most important time of our lives. She kept arguing, trying to gaslight me, saying I was overreacting, that it was just sex, that I should just forget it because we're supposed to get married. But I wasn't about to buy into her bullshit anymore. I knew this wasn't going away, and I knew I had to make a decision. I needed to think about what I was going to do next. I felt broken, betrayed, and furious all at once. I just sat there, staring at her, waiting for her to leave so I could have some space to breathe and figure out my next move. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and I kept replaying everything in my head, her lies, her attitude, the sneaking around. I felt like I'd been hit with a ton of bricks. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smug and indifferent, as if she had gotten away with something huge. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. It's one thing to suspect your wife might be cheating, but to find undeniable proof, that's a different level of pain. I kept asking myself why she did it, how she could be so callous, so selfish. I decided I needed to confront her again, this time with a plan. I wanted to hear her full explanation, and I wanted her to know I wasn't just some naive guy who didn't see what was going on. If she thought she could lie her way out of this, she was dead wrong. So I called her again, told her I wanted to meet at her place that evening. I told her I had some things I needed to say, and I wasn't leaving until she answered some questions honestly. When she arrived, she looked annoyed, like I was wasting her time. "What now, Mike?" she snapped. "Can't you just drop it?" I looked at her and said, "No, Lisa, I need the truth. I want to know how long this has been going on, how many times you've seen him, and why you thought you could get away with it." She crossed her arms, trying to act like she didn't care. "Look, I don't owe you explanations. It's none of your business," she spat. I took a breath. "It's my business because you're my wife and I found hotel receipts with the officiant. That's not just some fling, that's betrayal on a whole different level." Her face twisted into a sneer. "You're so paranoid, Mike. You think I'm some kind of cheating whore just because I wanted to have some fun. It's not a big deal, it's just sex, like I told you." I felt my blood boil. I was furious she was still trying to spin it, still trying to make me doubt myself. She kept going, acting like she's the victim. "You're boring, Mike. You work all the time, you don't pay attention to me anymore. Maybe I needed something else, someone who actually cares. And honestly, I don't regret it. If I want to see him, I will. You can't stop me." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. That bitchy attitude, the way she dismissed everything, it was like she enjoyed betraying me. That night I realized I couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay. My head was a mess, anger, sadness, disappointment. I knew I had to make some serious decisions. I started thinking about what my life would look like if I stayed with her, if I forgave her, if I just swept it under the rug. But deep down, I knew that wasn't an option anymore. This was a betrayal of everything we had built, and I couldn't just forget it. I had to think about what was best for me, though part of me still hoped, no, wished, that somehow I could fix this, save what little was left of our marriage. But the truth, I was already preparing myself for a future without her. Over the next few days, I tried to keep my cool, but it was damn near impossible. Everywhere I looked, I saw her. Her smirk, her dismissive attitude, all the lies she'd told me. I felt like a fool, like I'd been played from the start. I kept questioning whether I should just pack up and leave or try to salvage what was left. The thing is, I'm not the kind of guy who gives up easily, but betrayal like this, it's a different game. It seeps into every corner of your mind, eating away at your trust, making you second-guess every word, every gesture. One night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the receipts, her sneaky behavior, and the way she'd lied so effortlessly. I decided I couldn't keep going like this, not without some kind of plan. I needed leverage, I needed the truth to come out fully, and I needed her to understand that I wasn't just some fool she could manipulate anymore. So I set a trap, nothing illegal but enough to catch her off guard. I sent her a message pretending I was still clueless, acting like I didn't know the full extent of her betrayal. I asked her to come over, saying I wanted to talk about us. I told her I was ready to listen, but I also knew I had to catch her in the act if she was planning something. That night, she showed up, looking annoyed but also a little nervous. She thought I was just going to beg her to stay, to forgive her. Not this time. We sat down and I started with the usual "how could you?" questions. She looked irritated, trying to brush me off. Then I pulled out my phone, playing her own voice messages, and showed her the hotel receipts again. Her face went pale. She stammered, trying to deny everything, but I cut her off. "Don't lie to me, Lisa. I know about the hotel stays, the secret meetings, everything. You've been cheating on me with our Officiant, and I want the truth now." "Why?" Her eyes darted around, and then she started with her typical lies. "It's not what it looks like. I was just having fun," or "it didn't mean anything." But I saw right through her. She was panicked, flustered, desperate to spin her web of lies. I told her that I knew she'd been lying to my face during the premarital counseling, that she'd been playing me all along, that I was done with her bullshit. Her bitchy attitude flared up again. "You're just jealous, Mike. You're boring, insecure, and you can't handle that I still want to have a life outside of you." She looked at me with that evil smirk, like she enjoyed making me feel like some crazy fool. But I was beyond caring about her insults. I was ready to end this, whether that meant walking away or confronting her head-on. I told her I was done. I was done with the lies, the cheating, the manipulation. I told her she could pack her things and leave, that I didn't want to see her again. She threw a tantrum, called me all kinds of names, said I was overreacting, that she'd never do it again. I didn't care. My mind was made up. I wanted her out, and I knew I had to figure out how to get my life back after this mess. I was hurt, furious, and feeling more alone than ever. But at least I was finally starting to see what kind of person she really was. That was the first step to moving on. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind. I told her to get out and pack her things. She threw a fit, calling me all sorts of names, trying to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, that I was too insecure, or that I just didn't understand her. But I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I saw her for what she was, a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could do whatever she wanted and get away with it. Her tears, her tantrums, they all felt like noise too. Me, I just wanted her gone so I could breathe again. She finally packed her bags and left that night, but not before she threw one last jab. "You'll regret this, Mike. You're too stupid to see I was only doing this because I was bored. You're boring, and nobody's going to want you if you keep acting so paranoid." That's when I realized she was actually proud of what she did, like she owned her betrayal. That was the moment I decided I would never look back. I knew I had to rebuild from this, piece by piece, but I also knew I'd never forget what she did to me. In the days that followed, I threw myself into sorting out the mess. I contacted a lawyer, started the process of separating finances, and began to cut ties with her. The hardest part was watching her walk away with that smug look, thinking she'd won some kind of victory. But I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I realized I needed to heal, to process everything, and to figure out what I really wanted in life. Trust is shattered, but I was determined not to let this break me entirely. I started seeing friends, talking to a counselor, and focusing on myself. It wasn't easy. Every time I thought I was getting better, a new reminder of her betrayal hit me hard. I found myself questioning everything I believed about her, about us, about trust itself. But slowly, I learned to accept that some betrayals are so deep, they change you forever. I also learned that revenge, or dwelling on her, only kept me stuck in the past. I had to move forward for my own sake. Looking back, I can say I've definitely grown stronger through this. I realize now I shouldn't have ignored the early signs, those little red flags that I dismissed as paranoia. I trusted someone who was just pretending to be the person I thought she was. If I had to give advice, it's this: don't ignore the gut feeling. If something feels off, check it. And never let anyone make you feel small or stupid for catching them in their lies. Because in the end, I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you what you're really made of. And I'm done being that guy who gets played. I'm rebuilding. And I'm stronger than ever. Now, looking back, I realize that this experience has changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think trust was everything in a relationship, but I've come to see that trust has to be earned, and even then, it can be broken in an instant. Lisa's betrayal showed me that some people are just plain selfish and manipulative, people who will lie and cheat without a second thought if it benefits them. The thing is, I also learned I'm stronger than I thought I was. Yeah, I was hurt, humiliated, and angry, but I didn't let it crush me. Instead, I used it as a lesson in self-respect and resilience. I've had to rebuild my confidence piece by piece. I've started focusing on my career, my hobbies, and trying to reconnect with friends I'd neglected during our relationship. The truth is, I don't regret ending things with Lisa. Not for a second. It hurts, sure, but I know now that I deserve better. I deserve someone who respects me, who's honest, and who values what we have. I refuse to let her betrayal define me. I'm choosing to move on, stronger and wiser. Honestly, I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting her back or getting even. It's about reclaiming your life and dignity. I didn't want to be the guy who gets played and just accepts it. I wanted to take control, to show myself that I can survive this and come out the other side. So I cut all ties, confronted her when I needed to, and started focusing on healing myself. It's a slow process, but I see progress every day. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your gut. When something feels wrong, pay attention. Don't let anyone make you doubt your instincts. And don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, even if it means breaking away from someone you once loved. Because at the end of the day, your own happiness and self-respect have to come first. No one else will fight for that but you. I'm still healing, but I know now that I'm capable of more than I ever thought. And that's a lesson I'll carry with me forever.